One insult. 3 words whispered in a smoky tavern. And within weeks, villages were burning, flags were rising. A war began. But what if I told you that this war, forgotten by textbooks, sparked a movement that would crown a peasant as king? This is the forgotten feud of 1893. And the untold rise of 1812. 1. A land on the edge. In the year 1893, nestled between 2 rival valleys, Velshorn and Dalmore, was a tension older than memory. Every season, crops were stolen. Every winter, wells were poisoned. But somehow, peace held. Until one man broke the silence. His name was Garin Vey. 2. The tavern that broke the world. Garin was no soldier. He was a storyteller, known for stirring pots with his silver tongue. That night, as wine spilled and fire cracked, he stood and said, "The Dalmore king is not a lion. He's a coward in a crown." It was meant to be a joke. But the room went silent. One man, Merrick, a Dalmore captain, stood up and walked out. By morning, he declared it an insult to the throne. An act of war. 3. When pride becomes blood. The Dalmore king, humiliated, demanded an apology. Velshorn refused. Not because of the insult, but because they'd had enough. Years of being mocked, taxed, ignored. This was the match. On a mountain of dry wood. Fathers kissed their children goodbye. Teenagers took up pitchforks. And for the first time in 100 years, war drums echoed in the valley. 4. A soldier named Tomas. But our story isn't about kings. It's about a soldier. Or rather, a farmer. Tomas had never held a blade. He grew potatoes. Raised goats. But when his village was burned by Dalmore's forces, he picked up the sword his father buried after the last war. And he vowed, "No king will ever again speak for me." 5. Tomas the reluctant leader. Tomas never meant to lead. But in the chaos, people looked to him. Not for orders. But for hope. He said, "They have gold. We have hearts. They have armies. We have each other." Soon, 200 followed him. Then 500. He wasn't building an army. He was building a cause. 6. Battle of Broken Hill. Dalmore's elite guard marched to crush Tomas's rebels at Broken Hill. Outnumbered, outarmed, it should have been a massacre. But Tomas used the land. A landslide triggered by fire. A flood released from a hidden dam. The enemy was stunned. By nightfall, the unthinkable happened. The rebels won. For the first time. The empire flinched. 7. The letter that changed everything. After the victory, Tomas sent a letter, not to the kings, but to the people of both lands. He wrote, "We do not want your thrones. We want your freedom. If kings rule by titles, then let us rule by trust." It was read in markets. Carved on walls. Sung by children. And something even more powerful than war began. A movement. 8. The betrayal within. But power tempts, even the pure. One of Tomas's own, his childhood friend, Irvin, cut a secret deal with Dalmore to end the war in exchange for land and a title. He called Tomas naive. Said, peasants can never lead empires. The night before the signing, Tomas disappeared. Vanished. No body was ever found. And the movement began to crumble. 9. A crown in the crowd. 10 years passed. Velshorn and Dalmore were now one kingdom, ruled by compromise and corruption. But on the anniversary of the Battle of Broken Hill, a sea of people gathered. And among them, a man stood. Older. Weathered. but unmistakable. Tomas. 10. Not a king, but a servant. He raised no flag. Made no threats. He said only, "If we forget, then they win. If we remember, we rise." They offered him the crown. He refused. Instead, he became what he always was. A servant of the people. He founded schools. Freed prisoners. Rebuilt homes on both sides. And for the first time, two nations called the same man their hero. 11. Final message. Today, in a forgotten valley, there's a statue not of a king, but of a farmer. And etched on its base, just 3 words. Words change worlds. So the next time someone says you can't lead, that you aren't born for greatness, remember Tomas. And ask yourself, what would you do if the world handed you a sword? Because sometimes the greatest revolutions start with a single word. Like, share, and subscribe for more forgotten legends that shaped our world. You never know, your story might be next.